We are in the throes of summer, and as such, I believe it is finally time to sit down in this series and talk about one of the best summer blockbusters of all time. One of the most important films ever made. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jaws. Greetings, Designing Hollywood movie fans and beyond. I am your host, Oliver Ricketts. Jaws is just the definition of a beautifully timeless film. It's so wonderfully simple, something everybody can understand. A beach town has a shark in the water, and three guys gotta hop on a fishing boat and take care of it. And of course, the legacy of this movie cannot be overstated. It's the film that brought us perhaps the greatest filmmaker of all time. And the accolades go on, with shots like this, or lines like this,
"You're gonna need a bigger boat."
or the fact that the budgetary restrictions on this movie reinvented both horror and how people make responsibly budgeted movies. All of this is to say, there's very little I can contribute to the conversation on this one. I can sit here and gush about how great Jaws is, but you already know that. It's a classic. But none of that changes that I am a massive fan. So today I thought we'd break the format a little, and instead of telling you why you should see a movie, because it's almost certain that you already have, or at least are aware that you should, I just want to give you the top 5 reasons why I personally love Jaws, and get some insight into why this movie connected with me. So crack open and crush down your Gansets, and let's get into it. But before we do, I would like to tell you about our sponsor, Gardena Cinema. Because just earlier this month, they were doing their very own Jaws screening, and it was a wonderful event to be at for any fan of this movie. And while you may have missed it, if you're in Southern California, I highly recommend that you do not miss the next one. Gardena Cinema is showing movies of all different kinds and genres all the time and building really fun events around them. So I highly encourage you to check out their screening schedule, follow them on Instagram, and see about making a night out for yourself at the movies. A link to all of this can of course be found in the description below. Reason number 5, beach culture. It is so funny that a movie that famously made people afraid to go in the water is today such an important part of any beach diehard's life. We've discussed this before, but I am from the South Shore of Long Island. Gilgo Beach, Robert Moses, Fire Island, etc. And in this area, we take going to the beach and beach culture very seriously. To many of the people in my local circles, life is Jaws.
Right now we're in Jaws.
Beautiful Amity Island. Amity, as you know, means friendship.
An overlook, as you know, means eroded beach.
Also very true.
Not so much in the sense of there being a giant shark in the water, although they do keep finding them out there, but in the sense of how Jaws presents a town that lives entirely on the beach and is completely centered around beach going. That's a very attractive fantasy to a lot of people here. And although the movie itself was shot in Martha's Vineyard, it's not called Amity Island for no reason.
Amity, as you know, means friendship.
And it's not a stretch to say that more inspiration wasn't taken from Long Island, especially when it gets name-dropped 2 times in the same sentence by the mayor.
If people can't swim here, they'll be glad to swim at the beaches of Cape Cod, the Hamptons, Long Island.
Reason number 4, it's just so quotable. And this is such a simple one, but it's the God's honest truth. Quotable lines make movies more enduring and more enjoyable for a longer period of time. It is so fun to be able to reference a movie and have everybody know what you're talking about. And as a film fan, it's really interesting when lines from movies become just things that people say. And of course there are the big ones like, "We're going to need a bigger boat," which I might add is a misquote, and the line is actually,
"You're gonna need a bigger boat."
but this movie is also overflowing with other incredibly memorable quotes and lines and sayings, ranging from profound to incredibly silly. Things like this.
You yell barracuda. Everybody says, huh? What? You yell shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Or funnier ones like this.
Some bad hat, Harry.
And that one is so quoted that it is now a common household saying that some people don't even know is from Jaws. As a fun fact, Bryan Singer's production company, which brought us The Usual Suspects, is called Bad Hat Harry after this movie. The movie also features one of the greatest monologues by any actor in all of cinema, when Quint recounts his time on the SS Indianapolis and his first ever shark encounter.
Another thing about a shark, he's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes. When he comes at you, doesn't seem to be living until he bites you, and those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming.
This monologue is rumored to have been written on the same day and plays as one of the most important and pivotal parts of the movie. Beyond that, even just the little tics of the people in this movie are also so quotable and so funny.
Don't have to take this abuse much longer.
Reason number 3. Jaws merchandising mania. Anybody who is familiar with my work knows that I love merchandising and marketing. It's a fascination of mine, from movie memorabilia to TV mascots to the wide variety of different breakfast cereals that have been available throughout history. I love this stuff and I cover it on my own channel frequently. As such, films from the 70s and 80s are my bread and butter. Everything had a cool toy line and a coloring book and a cereal box top prize. It was a time when films could still be merchandised in a way that was charming and not overly in your face. Just something that, while admittedly adding to the profit of a movie, also added to the fun. Jaws is of course no exception, and even today tie-ins to this movie still happen and still bring me a lot of joy, including the wonderful Universal Studios theme park ride, which I maintain should have never been removed, to the Broadway show The Shark is Broken, which I had the pleasure of seeing, and is all about the making of this movie. I still get a kick out of seeing the film referenced on t-shirts, rubber ducks, bags, boxes, tattoos, you name it. It just makes it feel like the ever-present piece of pop culture that it should be and that it is. This also includes the product placement in the movie, as this film has made me a hardcore fan of Narragansets, a brewing company that fully embraces Jaws as part of their legacy. They love being known as the beer that Quint crushes on the boat. In many ways, Narragansett is to Jaws what Reese's Pieces are to E.T.
E.T.'s back.
They're always releasing Narragansett merch and items that relate back to Jaws, and every now and then you can get lucky enough to get the original can that was in the movie, like this one. Reason number 2. This is exactly what a summer film should be. I wasn't exaggerating when I said this is exactly the feel that a summer blockbuster should take on. Today we see a much larger number of movies take on this season, and they're oversaturated. They're more expensive, and they're certainly bigger in scale than Jaws, but none of them have the same staying power. Something that many audience members seem to have caught on to is that summer blockbusters are often very simple. That's where the phrase "turn your brain off, it's a popcorn movie" comes from. But I don't think that simple should inherently mean stupid. You can be simple and be smart. Jaws is an intelligent movie with characters and a town that feel real and fleshed out like they could exist. It just happens to be a simple, easy to understand premise. A concept that we can understand so quickly that we have nothing left to do but be absorbed into the magic of this movie. And I do believe that this is why this film has more staying power than literally thousands of other summer blockbusters that have come out since. Moreover, the summer setting of the movie makes it a mainstay of the season as a whole, with frequent showings happening on both Memorial Day weekend and the 4th of July here in the United States. Reason number 1. It might be the entire creative team's best effort. Jaws is not my personal favorite Steven Spielberg movie, but if you said it was yours, I'd have a very very hard time arguing against the validity of that pick. This is an incredibly solid movie, and it's amazing that a director could not only make this when he was 27, but ever go on to top himself. And the fact that you can question whether or not it's Steven Spielberg's best movie doesn't speak to the quality of Jaws. It certainly would be the best movie of many other filmmakers' filmography, but just speaks to what an amazing director Spielberg truly is with his roster of classic films. The actors themselves are also just so synonymous with this movie. Richard Dreyfuss has been in a lot of films, but people think about Hooper when they see him. Robert Shaw is essentially the figurehead of Jaws, which is so interesting because he actually thought of it as lesser fare than some of the other movies he was making at the time. It just goes to show that something can be way bigger than you think it is in the moment. And all of these things work together to be greater than the sum of its parts, leaving us with a true one-of-a-kind classic in Jaws. Folks, if you love films like I do, including this one, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Designing Hollywood YouTube channel, where we're talking about some of our favorite films from all different genres and all different eras. You'll also want to check out the Designing Hollywood podcast, where we sit down with industry professionals behind the scenes of movies you love. For Designing Hollywood, I'm Oliver Ricketts, and until next time, get out there and go see a movie.